Check, check.
Good evening, everyone. I am going to remind everybody one more time that this is a Fox School District building and masks are required. They need to be on properly, and the policeman will ask you to leave if you don't wear it properly. I hope we don't have to stop for that. We thank you all for coming. I call the meeting to order, and we'll begin with a Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome to the meeting tonight, and we'll start with introductions. We'll start with Dr. Gilman.
Randy Gilman, Assistant Superintendent, Elementary.
Tammy Cardona, Assistant Superintendent, Secondary.
April Meckel, Board Member.
Jim Shalhoub, Board Member.
Carol Yonk, Board Member.
Judy Turney, Outgoing Board Secretary.
Susan Graham, Board Secretary.
Dawn Trokey, Director of Business and Financial Services, filling in for Mr. John Stewart, CFO.
Kelly Brock, Assistant Superintendent, Human Resources.
Vicki Hansen, Board Member.
Michelle Chamberlain, Board Member.
Crystal Hargis, Vice President.
Paul Frigo, Superintendent.
Judy Smith, Board President. We have 3.3, approval of agenda meeting minutes from August 17th. I need a motion to approve those.
So moved.
Second, Chamberlain.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? 3.4, approval of meeting minutes from September 7th. I need a motion.
Motion.
Second, Shalhoub.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? 3.5, approval of agenda for the September 21st meeting. I need a motion.
Motion. Meckel.
All in favor?
Yes.
Okay, anyone opposed? Okay. Dr. Gilman, we have public comments, 4.1.
Yes, we have a few comments this evening. First one is Dan McCarthy. As Mr. McCarthy makes his way up here, I'd like to remind our speakers that problems involving a particular employee or students are reserved for executive session. Only items from the posted agenda may be discussed. A 3-minute time period will be allowed per speaker. A warning will be given after 2.5 minutes. The Vice President of the Board will be the timekeeper.
Ready? All right. Prior to the start of school, it was announced that masks would be parents' choice. The following week, August 11th, we saw headlines in the Leader, kids' cases rise dramatically, and new tally, 5 more die of COVID-19 complications. Out of the 5 mentioned, not one of them was under 60. JC Health Department, Kelly Vollmer, made a statement in the paper that we must protect our most vulnerable, ages 2 to 19 years old. We've had 0 death outside of children with pre-existing conditions in Missouri. In 2015, a randomized study was done that proved the effectiveness of masks are non-existent. Here's an email from Dr. Fauci to a friend 8 months ago. Sylvia, masks are really for infected people to prevent from them spreading infection to people who are not infected rather than protecting uninfected people from acquiring infection. The typical mask you buy in a drugstore is not really effective in keeping out the virus, which is small enough to pass through the material. It might, however, provide some slight benefit to keep out gross droplets if someone coughs or sneezes on you. I do not recommend that you wear a mask, particularly since you are going to a very low-risk location. And that was by Tony Fauci. An N95 mask is effective if used correctly. How many people in this room are wearing an N95 mask? Are masks changed out often after eating, touching, sweating, and using restrooms? Prior to COVID, OSHA had strict guidelines on anything more than a dust mask because it restricted airflow and put stress on your respiratory system. We can go on with the psychological effect it has on our children, but it will fall on deaf ears as it did during the August meeting when April mentioned the effects and it was quickly squashed and a motion made to mask all students. When the data was questioned last meeting by April for inconsistencies, instead of the board meeting saying, let's get to the bottom of this, Jim says, why would they do that? Are you saying they purposely did this? And then a point of order shuts down a data discussion and Vicki Hansen makes a motion to pass a typed up response for updated mitigation that she can't even clarify when questions asked about the updated details of the policy. A parent questionnaire was brought up and quickly dismissed because no way would the board want to empower the parents. The fact that board members think it's okay for them to not wear masks in public areas of regions with no mandates but turn around and pass mandates for our children is wrong. We wear a mask for others, safety not our own. If that was the case, you'd be wearing a mask in public. Fox School Board has a terrible track record, and if you're not chosen to be the leaders of the county pushing a fight against parental rights, use common sense and stand your ground against allowing other outside bureaucrats, lawyers, insurance companies to make our decisions that we elected you to make. The recent Freedom of Information Act request was found the CDC was lobbied and pressured by teachers unions for stricter mask guidelines. Who knew that the board is ultimately handing our children's health decisions over to teachers unions? It's not easy these days to be a leader in any political position or board. Leaders will be dragged through the mud and beaten down many times over. I don't have an issue with people wanting to wear a mask, but don't force it on my family claiming it's for our safety. I will not allow my family to sacrifice their freedoms for safety and will forever preach to them the motto to live free or die.
Time.
Brittany Hukin.
In 21 months, from January 2020 through September 2021, there have been 439 child deaths due to COVID-19. Annually, 4,074 children die in car crashes. 2,400 are injured or killed due to a car backing over them. 400 children are struck and killed as pedestrians. 185 die due to bee stings. 1,853 children die from cancer, 599 from heart disease, 995 due to drowning, 982 from poisoning or drug overdose, 1,430 due to suffocation, 340 children due to dying in a fire, and 3,143 due to firearms. Those numbers are annual deaths for children aged 0 to 18 in America. Are we going to remove and prohibit any vehicle from entering our district campuses so no one is in a collision or struck? Are we going to put metal detectors at each and every entrance to each and every building in our district to ensure no firearms are brought in? Should we remove all sinks, toilets, and water fountains to ensure none of our students drown? Where do we draw the line? Mr. Schlue, you mentioned feeling like you'd be held responsible if a student in our district were to contract COVID and die. Would you personally feel responsible if a child in our district died from heart disease, even though they chose to eat pizza for lunch every day? Or would you feel personally responsible if a student suffocated due to becoming caught on a blind cord? No, you wouldn't. That's a cop-out used in this tyranny facade to overreach your job as elected board members. You do realize all these students are congregating after school, right? At church on Sundays, going to the movies, gas stations, Target, Schnucks, literally anywhere in Jefferson County because you don't have to wear a mask anywhere except our school. Perhaps we could reach out to a local restaurant and ask if we could swap them out tables, since apparently you can't catch COVID when you're out to eat, just at school. Board of Education, not of Health. Know who makes health decisions regarding my children? Myself and my children's pediatrician. My first grade daughter comes home with food and gunk and grime
30
and
seconds.
snot covering her mask that she's been touching all day and forced to breathe through. My high school son and all his buddies share masks because they're typical disgusting boys and no one can ever find theirs. These masks are doing more harm than good, if you can even call it good. They're disgusting. Your job title is not to make health decisions for my children. And continuing to mandate such a ridiculous policy is furthering dividing our country. And continuing to mandate such a ridiculous policy is furthering the divide
Time.
our country is currently facing.
Thank you.
Shannon Otto.
I'm a parent in the Fox School District, and I would like to know why we're making so many healthy students and staff quarantine and miss out on much-needed in-person learning. According to the Jefferson County Health Department, last school year, you required 2,868 students and staff to quarantine because 51 of them tested positive. 98.3% of students and staff that had to quarantine did not test positive and missed out on their education and in-person learning. We are 20 days into the current school year and have already excluded 454 students and staff because 124 people have tested positive. So with 11,500 students in the district, you have a 1% chance of contracting COVID while in school. For a board member to sit at the last meeting and announce that they almost changed their mind because of how rude some of you have been just shows that person is making decisions based on emotion, not what is best for students and staff, and should not be sitting on the board representing our students and staff. The current mitigation plan makes no sense. We all gather together outside, shoulder to shoulder, sporting events, and on the playground. We get together with whoever we want, whenever we want, but the moment you step into the building, you have to put a mask on and step 3 feet from each other. What happened to natural immunity? Are we just disregarding that some people are more susceptible to get sick while others are strong and healthy? You want to have a mask mandate, but you're doing a terrible job at it. The lack of consistency is astounding. There are teachers allowing mask breaks, teachers who are threatening write-ups, and teachers who are not allowing a break at all. When kids are outside, they should be encouraged to remove their mask, especially at the elementary level. The kids are being forced to wear a mask during gym, even when distancing is possible. Why are these kids not having fun outside when the weather is nice and getting fresh air? Vaccinated or not, you can get and spread COVID. Masked or not, you can get and spread COVID. The overreach by this school board needs to stop. These are our kids, and as parents, we have always been able to weigh the risks and benefits of each and every situation we are presented with and have the freedom to always choose what we think is best for them. They are being made into victims during your power plays, and this is an overreach of your power. You are elected officials and should not be reelected. We will not stop, not today, not tomorrow. We will be here at each and every single meeting. We are not being heard, and you're not even willing to send a survey to ask the parents, students, or staff what we want. Can we just follow Jefferson County Health Department recommendations and allow the healthy kids to quarantine
30
in
seconds.
school and let everyone else have the choice whether they want to wear a mask or not? If the masks work so well, why are we continuing to make healthy kids miss so much of their education while sitting at home in quarantine? COVID is not going away, just like RSV, the flu, and the common cold. We cannot and will not mask our kids forever.
Erica Deckard.
Hi, my name is Erica Deckard, and I have 3 children in Fox. 2 of them are special needs. My daughter was the only one that had to wear a mask last year, and this year too, and she's brought us home so much sickness from the mask. My boys who don't wear a mask, they haven't brought us home anything. The only thing that masks are doing for our kids is putting germs directly where we don't want them, and that is their face. You have to take your mask off to eat, to drink, to play on the playground. Someone coughs on their hand, sneezes, touches the counter where a child touches, and then touches their face, and then they put their mask on their face. Wearing masks causes irritation of the skin, promotes skin infections, and it's just nasty. If you're gonna follow the science, you have to follow all the science and not just pick and choose what benefits you the most over what benefits the families of Fox. There's no mask mandate in Jefferson County. There's no mask mandate in St. Louis County. There's no difference of our children going to school with no masks versus playing outside with no masks. It is preposterous to think that if someone is sick with anything, that you're not going to possibly catch it. Kids sneeze, touch themselves, touch their face, touch monkey bars, and I'm a little confused to learn that there is money from the state that was coming that I read that was supposed to be for the distance learning from last year, and I didn't get anything for homeschooling my kids. I opted to not take any laptops or anything for my kids because I didn't want them to break them and I didn't want to have to replace them. And by adhering to CDC guidelines, they're not rules, they're not laws, and it's just not working for us to wear masks. Common sense needs to be used here. You're the Board of Education for our children, for God's sakes, and this shows that you are mandating this for other causes, not for what's the best for our kids. And all we need and want is parental choice. I'm not able to remove my kids from public school as they are special needs and they need that extra care of support, but are they learning to the best of their ability? Absolutely not. They can't see the teachers' mouths for articulation, pronunciation, for
30 seconds.
looks and cues. My teachers are awesome and they're doing the best that they can for our kids. Fox parents are a majority for parental choice, as we can see with the parents that show up to fight for our students and our teachers. I don't understand why you're fighting us on this. Why are you dictating what we want for our kids? If parents want to send their kids with a mask, let them. That's their choice. It's not taking anything from them and not taking anything from us either. Thanks.
Robert Mathis.
My name is Robert Mathis. My son's a senior. He had an endoscopy done not too long ago, and he put his hand out to do his mask on his face, and his teacher said, you can't touch your mask. So what ended up happening was she sent him out into the principal's office. He couldn't breathe. Where I'm going with this is the risk of face masks. Kids struggle to breathe in them. What really alarms me is the masks get wet from the kids breathing. And whatever surface they touch, whether it be a handrail, a door, whatever they touch, when they go to adjust their mask, they put that right back on their face, and they ended up getting sick, right? Or whatever is dirty on their hands go back to their face. I have a study that says, how effective are masks really? The answer, it depends on the study. Multiple medical studies on masking that fall into one or two categories: observational studies or randomized controlled trials. Much of the scientific community has based its masking guidance on observational studies rather than RCTs, referencing cloth and surgical masks, not the N95 respirators. The Center of Disease Control and Prevention, for example, released a press release highlighting an observational study that focused on 2 COVID-19 positive hairstylists in Missouri. Both stylists were showing symptoms but wore masks while serving 139 customers, most of whom were also masked. The result was 67 customers subsequently chose to get tested for COVID-19, tested negative. The other 72 customers reported showing no symptoms. There are plenty of glaring problems with this study. Last year at a gym in Virginia, in which people apparently did not wear masks any of the time, a trainer tested positive for the coronavirus, as CNN reported. The gym contacted everyone whom the trainer had coached before getting sick. 50 members in all, but not one member developed symptoms. This is why the trials are more reliable. They compare one variable group to a control group to determine just how effective the variable is. The CDC has not bothered to mention any of the trials regarding masking. Why? Because they don't like what the RCT shows. Several trials conducted over the past several years, each of which have found that cloth masks and surgical masks offer little to no benefit at all. One trial that specifically tested masks against COVID-19 was in 2020 in Denmark with 4,800
30
participants.
seconds.
The researchers found that 1.8% of those in a mask group and 2.1% of those in a control group became infected with COVID-19 within a month. This is a 0.3% difference, not being statistically significant. Incredibly, the CDC has dismissed this Danish study and is inconclusive and too small while praising the observational study in Missouri. We as parents deserve the right. You know, we should be the ones to make the decisions whether our children wear
Time.
masks or not. I would appreciate it if you could. Windsor doesn't have to.
Time.
Festus doesn't have to.
Thank you.
Please appreciate that.
Okay, we go to 4.2, Superintendent Comments. Dr. Frigo.
Great, thank you. First thing I want to start out with tonight is talking a little bit about our transportation update, and in a little bit, parents will be getting notified of the updated bus routes and times for each of our schools via communication from the district. And I wanted to explain to people, I know this is a very tough imposition on people to change school schedules midstream like we have. We changed at the beginning year, evaluated the plan, and we had to adjust again. We have, as everybody's well aware, we have a shortage of bus drivers, but also the other variable we had to consider is we have 13 major road projects coming up between now and 2024, so this isn't just a short-term issue we'll be dealing with, where major thoroughfares throughout the district will be closed or have lane restrictions for a long period of time, 100 to 150 days. So when we put this new plan together, we had to allow for more time between schools so our buses can get there in time. And as I said, we know it's a major imposition, but this is something we're going to be dealing with for several years. On top of all the Jefferson County projects, we know the state is going to be doing a lot of work here out on Jeffco, which will again slow our buses down as they traverse the district. So again, I just want to thank everybody for making what I consider major adjustments to your life, your time of day, how your kids are taken care of before and after school. But we were forced to do this by two variables that impacted us greatly. Bus driver shortage and major construction projects for several years. So, and I don't want to sound anti-construction project. This is going to be good. The roads will be safer. We'll have wider shoulders, safer turns, those type of things. But getting there is going to take some major work, and our buses are going to be moving different routes for the next couple of years, different ways to get to every bus stop. So just wanted to update you on that. Another thing I wanted to talk about is salaries. We've had a lot of board meetings since I was here in July and talked about one of the major things I've heard about is we need to adjust salaries for our employees, and I totally agree. And I just wanted to reiterate to everybody, we are looking at a variety of plans to do this. It's not an easy undertaking. We're talking about millions of dollars in increases for our employees, and so we have to have a good plan that's sustainable, and so that's something we can't do quickly. We also have another factor in there as well, where the minimum wage is going to be increasing, which will cause some more increases in costs for our employees, and so we have to make sure we have a plan that's sustainable and fundable from now into the future. And if we move too quickly, it could be fiscally irresponsible to do that, and so we are going to take our time, but I want people to hear that we are evaluating plans, and it is in the front burner for us as far as our discussions moving forward. Next, I'd like to share some updated information so people have kind of a picture of where we're at with COVID in Jefferson County. So this is a chart that begins in September of 2020 through September of 2021 and shows the 7-day rolling average for COVID cases in Jefferson County. And you can see recently we're just as high as we've been pretty much for in the entire time we've been in this pandemic. And we look at 6 to 10 years old, you'll see similar data. As you see, quite a bit of an increase currently in Jefferson County with this age group as we deal with the new variant that's out there. And then if you look at 11 to 13-year-olds, again, you can see the 7-day rolling average is just as high as it's been at any time we've been dealing with this pandemic for the last year. And then last but not least, our 14 to 19-year-olds, again, have been on the increase recently. And so those are all, that's part of the data the health department, schools look at when they're considering what to do moving forward in regards to dealing with COVID. So I'll be doing this every board meeting, presenting different data points. And so I just wanted to share those with you tonight. And that's all I have. President Smith.
All right. Moving into our 5.1 COVID mitigation plan, we are going to talk about adjusting the quarantining, and I'm going to make a motion that the Board of Education revise the current COVID mitigation measures to include the new modified quarantine guidelines that were published by the Jefferson County Health Department about 3 weeks ago. This will allow students who are not showing any kind of symptoms to be able to do their quarantine at school wearing a mask and sitting together in tables where they're with kids in the same situation. So I'm making a motion that we adopt the revised plan put out by the Jefferson County. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
You can.
So my understanding of the new Jefferson County, I guess, mitigation or protocol is that if a child is sitting at a lunch table and one of their friends comes up positive, then at that lunch table, just at that lunch table, they don't have to go home and quarantine at home. We can have those children at school where we all want most, our children to be at. And then we have masks on them and we monitor their symptoms at school. This is not if they were exposed at home or if dad has COVID and the child is at home because the child was exposed to dad. That child's still going to have to be quarantined at home, unfortunately. So I just wanted to make sure that was clear, that that's what we're presenting.
So it just alleviates children who are in contact with a COVID case here at school at the lunchroom with their mask off.
Or sports.
And it would allow them to stay in school while they quarantine as long as there are no symptoms.
And could I ask for one more piece of clarification? My understanding then on those modified guidelines is if they were exposed, then those particular students that were in proximity to the positive case would be allowed no mask breaks. They'd have to wear the mask the entire day. Is that correct?
Yes, they'd have to wear masks the entire time, even outside when, like today, when I was at Fox Elementary, they were outside. Now, they didn't have their masks. Those kids would need to continue to wear the masks.
And
Mask
the
breaks would be at lunch and when they're in the restroom
other
alone.
thing that I do want to say, to clarify to everyone, again, for transparency, the board does not make guidelines regarding mask breaks. That is something that's done by administration in conjunction with the teachers, and we're trusting them to use good judgment. And so I'm trusting that Dr. Gilman and Dr. Cardona and Dr. Fergo will work with building principals, and those principals will work with the teachers to come up to create common sense times when kids can have mask breaks and be socially distanced and still follow the guidelines. And so I wanted to clarify that to people. There's the only people that would need to wear masks 100% of the time except for lunch in the restroom would be those who have been in proximity and who otherwise would have been quarantined. Correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And I want to make sure everybody understands part of the modified quarantine protocols are if a building or district sees 4% positivity among students and staff, the modified quarantine option goes away. So I don't want people to be surprised if that would happen and we're in modified quarantine and then we have to make that adjustment. I just want to make sure people understand that as well.
And would that be by building, Dr. Frigo?
Could be building or district. It would just depend on how that happens.
That's a lot of people, though.
That is a lot. 4%'s
Yeah.
a lot when you consider students and staff.
Judy, I just want to clarify that we are still on a 31-day review so in another 30 days, we will be reviewing the results from Jefferson County and coming up with maybe a different mandate. That's still on the books, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Our current plan is a 30-day review per that House bill.
Okay, so we have a motion and a,
Could I
Yes,
ask one
ma'am.
more thing? And I just want to make sure if a parent would choose to voluntarily quarantine their child if they've been exposed, they would still be allowed access to the curriculum, correct? There would be
Yes,
no
just like
penalty.
they would be now. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Good question.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. I move that the Board of Education then adopt the revised COVID mitigation measures for the 2021-22 school year as proposed by the district's administration and revised by the prior motion of the Board of Education and to be implemented by the district's administration. I need a motion and a second.
So move.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. Moving on to 5.2, Assistant Services Incorporated Transportation Agreement. Dr. Cardona?
So I'm asking the board to approve the agreement between the Assist Services Incorporation and the C-6 School District as presented. This is just a transportation program that we use for our homeless and our McKinney-Vento students.
Okay. We need a motion to approve the agreement between Assist Services Incorporated and the C-6 School District as presented.
Motion, Hanson.
Second, Chamberlain?
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed? Okay. 5.3, Bilingual International Assistance Services, Slumis.
So I'm going to take that for
Okay.
her. So I'm asking the board, making a motion to approve the agreement between the Bilingual International Assistance Services and the C-6 School District. From time to time, we need to have language services available for interpreters and things like that. Sometimes we have to do that for testing. So that's what this motion is asking for.
Okay. Anybody have a question about it? Okay.
Also include for parent conferences if the parents don't speak English.
Yes. Sometimes, sorry, I want to clarify that. So sometimes we can use our own staff for if it works out that way. But then for specific meetings, IEP meetings, things like that, we're really required to bring them in.
Okay. We need a motion to approve the agreement between Bilingual International Assistance Services and C-6 School District as presented.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. 5.4, District Fax Agreement with eGold Fax.
I got that one.
Okay.
Asking for a motion to approve the agreement from eGold Fax to provide district-wide fax services. This item, like so many others from Luke and our tech department, will save the district some significant money. So I'm asking for that motion, please.
Okay, we need a motion to approve the agreement between eGold Fax to provide district-wide fax services for unlimited users.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Okay. 5.5, Credit Card Authorization, Amy Bolinger and Marissa Tate. Dawn?
Yes. The district uses credit cards for purchasing various items, and we're requesting issuance of credit cards for Amy Bolinger and Marissa Tate. They are two new fax teachers at Seckman High School with a credit limit of $1,000 each. And per board policy DJF, this requires board approval.
We need a motion to approve the issuance of Visa credit cards to Amy Bolinger and Marissa Tate with a credit limit of $1,000 each.
Motion Chamberlain?
Second, Yacht.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed? Did I? Okay. We have 5.6 Stipend Group A. We need a motion to approve the stipends from Group A as presented.
I make a motion.
Second, Magel.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Abstain.
Any opposed? Okay. 5.7 Stipend Group B. We need a motion to approve stipends for Group B as presented.
I make a motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Abstain Chamberlain?
Anyone oppose? Okay. 6.1 Financial Report. Oh, sorry. Whoops. Turn the page. Okay. 5.8 Permission for destruction of records. Graham.
We are requesting permission to shred files that are past the retention date required by the Missouri Secretary of State Records retention schedule. Files are maintained by the district per the public school retention schedule and general records retention schedule. Our district retains these files for additional years past the recommended retention dates. We are seeking permission to shred the expired files per the attached list.
Okay, we need a motion to grant permission for the file destruction past retention dates assigned.
Motion, Yacht.
Second, Shalhoub.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Anyone opposed? And 6.1 Financial Report. Ms. Trogi.
Yes. The financial report for the 2 months of this fiscal year ending August 31st, 2021, the graph is displayed on the screen there for comparative purposes, and if anybody has any questions.
Okay, that's just for information only. And we move on to financial items, 7.1, the setting of the 2021 tax rate. We had the hearing at 6:30, and we need a motion to set the 2021 property tax rate as follows. 0.6200 in the capital projects fund, 3.2425 in the incidental fund, and 0.3901 in the debt service fund. We need a motion and a second.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
So the rollback of the tax rate is approved. Okay. 7.2, payment of bills, Group A. Motion to approve the Group A bills as presented.
I make a motion to approve.
All in favor?
Yes.
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 Anyone opposed? Okay, 8.1, consent agenda, items 8.2 through 8.7. We need a motion to accept these.
So move, Shalhoub.
Second, Yacht.
All in favor?
Yes.
Anyone opposed?
I'm ready.
We need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion.
Second
Second.
Chamberlain?
All in favor?